Hey guys, Czar here. Hope all is well. It's 9:49, so we're about 20 minutes into the New York session, letting the first flurry of chaos kind of just work its way through here. Look at this mess. The Nasdaq on the left-hand side, S&P in the middle, and the Dow on the far right. You can see that we are pretty whippy and range-bound here on the Nasdaq, but just above VWAP. We're just below VWAP on the S&P, but doing something very similar. And then we have the Dow doing something similar again, but on the upside or the top side of VWAP. So I'm going to be looking at these things together and trying to decide if there's a trade here for us. So I've just flipped over to my trading screen, my trading grid, if you will. And but I'm still watching. I'm always watching the Three Sisters on a different monitor, right? The Three Sisters, like you see there. And I just want to make that very clear that I'm never just trading from this. I'm trading from this primarily, but with the Three Sisters as part of the equation always. The Three Sisters being the three U.S. indices, NASDAQ, S&P, and the Dow. I'll factor in the Russell sometimes as well, the small caps, but for the most part, it's those three. Watching now. All right, so you can see here on the Dow, why don't we look at the 30-minute chart, because that's where I look at my zones. Obviously I mapped out these zones ahead of time and sent them to my group in Telegram. If you're not part of that group, you're welcome. If you have a positive attitude and a beginner's mind, we'd love to have you. So very much rejecting here so far from this 30-minute zone that you see here, confirmed on Friday in the New York session, and again here in the European session today. I've taken two trades already today, a NASDAQ and a Dow. Fortunately, they were both winners, and now looking for a third potentially. I normally just trade the New York session these days, but I have a dentist appointment shortly, actually. I'll leave in about an hour, and so I started earlier today just to see what opportunities showed up in London, number 2. All right, so that's the Dow rejecting. Now we have the S&P. I'm going to delete this zone because we've already tapped down here below. And then the NASDAQ, of course. Let's take a look at that. And it's also range bound at this point. This entire European range. So just kind of sitting in there, not doing much at all yet. Bias to the downside now on the S&P and the NASDAQ. Let's take a look at the Dow again. To the upside. So that's divergent. And when I see that kind of divergence, I typically sit on the sidelines and don't do anything. Watching price action here now. And again, I am always watching all three. Sideways, range bound. Sideways, contracting. And what I mean by that is this. Right? Loosely drawn, obviously. Kind of messily drawn, but you can see what we're looking at. Oops. See that there? Until we get some kind of a breakout from that, there's nothing going on. You'll see something similar happening here on the Dow, right? Boom, boom, boom. All right. This one's more of a rectangle, but you get the idea. Simple stuff, guys. You don't have to get complicated with this. I'm really... These days, after my fourth decade of trading, I'm all about simplifying the complex world of trading. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple, but trading will never be easy. It'll be one of the most difficult things you ever do. Not because it requires great intelligence. It does not. It doesn't even require great understanding of price action, but it does require ongoing conditioning and self-mastery, and that is where 95% of traders fail. Dow, this is the NASDAQ. range bound. You see it there? Very, very clear. I'm going to put you on pause for now, guys. I'll bring you back. Before I do, I'm just going to flick you over here to show you where I'm sitting on the trading grid. Pause now. And back to the Three Sisters. Still range bound and messy. Contracting pattern continues on the NASDAQ and on the Dow. And to a large extent on the S&P as well. And 1 minute and 35 seconds left in the 30-minute candle. If we can close up here in this upper range, which is not looking likely at this point, I may flip the coin on the long side because of what I see here. I'm just going to mark this off so I can clearly see what I'm dealing with. Less than a minute left now. That's the Dow. This is the S&P. Completely doji, range bound in the middle. Put you on pause for a moment. And we're back. 9 seconds left and we're back in the range. So not closing outside of the range. That's my alarm. Just went off in the background there to remind me that I have a dentist appointment. I may not be able to even enter anything here. Although I got a bit of time. We'll see. All right, watching now. Let's go back to the sisters for a moment. I want to see what's lining up here on this 10:01 hour. All right, dropping down here, breaking minor structure on the NASDAQ. All right, back here, guys. Back to the Dow. I'm going to drop down to the 5-minute chart. Back to let's go to the 1-minute chart right here. See that there? All right, guys. Sell stop order right now. Sell stop right and there. You saw that happen? If it pulls back, that means we would have more time to enter. Because I know that was very, and this is not a live stream, so it doesn't really matter to me. You saw me hit that thing right there. In a perfect world, I'd like to see it pull back. Just, I always like to say, that anybody following my trade idea would have ample time to enter the trade. But you can see what we did there. Looking for 30 points here, by the way, guys. This is a zone reversal trade. I'm going to go back to the 30-minute here, guys. Adjusting my zone up just a tiny bit after that big rejection wick you saw there. going to risk 30 to make 30 to 1-to-1. Now again, I would like, there we go. Okay, so now we're back in at that same price, right? So nothing changes. I'm just glad that if I was, say, coaching real time, that my student would have an opportunity to actually get into that trade, and like I do on all my videos, over 500 of them there on the YouTube channel. That's just a pet peeve of mine. It's just a thing. OCD. No one's ever questioned it for me, and I'm grateful. But that's just a thing that I like to do. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. So I am watching still, guys, the Sisters Grid. You'll see that there's some strength now in the Nasdaq. That was not the case when I entered. And a little bit of indecision here on the S&P. The Dow looked like it was going to drop below, and it still might. I believe it's still a very good chance that it will. And that's the trade idea, of course, here is for that completion down below. Having rejected, now a big piece of this is the rejecting daily, right? So the daily actually broke Friday's high, but then rejected immediately back into the range. It didn't last very long. That's a bearish signal, despite that candle being white, which is an up day for me. This rejection wick on the opening candle was very aggressive as well, in the face of these other indices, the Nasdaq and the S&P, unable to get much beyond VWAP at all, certainly not beyond 1.25 standard deviations, in a very tight range. That's a sign of weakness overall, right? It's neutrality to weakness. The weakness comes in with the fact that all three of these are neutral, but the Dow rejected aggressively in an attempt to get above the European high and the Friday key high. Now this Friday high, let me just expand this so you can really see what I'm talking about. This Friday high is the same high we're talking about. Oops, over here. See that there? And this Friday high is critical because it was such an aggressive rally. This is a, let me see how many points this is. From what I remember, it's a couple of hundred. Yeah, 216 points, 217 points, rejected violently in the New York session. The rally was in New York, the sell-off was in New York. We've now gone all the way back here in Europe, could not stay above, and now we've just done it again. So this is, very much a confluence idea-based trade, and we're basically break even right now, but we'll see how this plays out. 1 minute chart on the right-hand side, guys. So despite the messiness, we're able to put together a cohesive idea incorporating all three of these indices. Watching now. Tightening my stop to 9 or 10, so reducing it by 2/3. Just reduced my risk by 2/3, guys. It's a 0.33 R risk. Risking 0.3 R. Need one more push here. Zone reversal trade, right? Still watching the Three Sisters. You see the weakness now, the collapsing of the Nasdaq, the collapsing of S&P. Unfortunately, the Dow holding up. And the Dow is the one that I'm short, as you know. Looking for one more push here. Third trade of the day, guys. The first two trades were in the European session. I think I mentioned that in the beginning because of my dental appointment that I need to get ready for, actually. So hopefully we can finish this off here pretty quick. Zone reversal, rejecting daily, rejecting 30 on a very key resistance from Friday's New York and from this morning's European session. I know I'm repeating things, but I want to make it very clear what the confluence is here. Higher time frame and amongst the three sisters, right? There we go. One more push. One more push. Can we do it? And the stop is based on symmetry and these bodies that you see here. So close here, guys. Can we do this? One more push. And we're done. Thanks for being with me, guys. Third trade of the day. Happy Monday to you. Hope you have an amazing week. Thank you for your support. Thank you for clicking the like button. If you don't mind, if you enjoyed this even remotely, it would be a great gesture and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Have an amazing day. Take care.